We are live once again. Sorry we're a little late this time. We had a couple friends over for dinner.
That have been quarantining the whole time.
Oh, is that how you justify it?
They've been safe.
That's how you justify it, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
One was pregnant, so I feel like extra safe.
Like I always say, I think anyone is capable of justifying something if they themselves want to do it.
I mean, I was on either side of the fence. Like, I didn't care one way or another, but, you know, they're about to leave because she's pregnant, and I felt like it was good to see them.
I mean, it's certainly good to see them, but...
I stayed a pretty good distance away.
I don't know. It looked pretty dangerous from where I was sitting.
You were right next to them, so...
I mean, I'm as good as dead. Yesterday, the big news was, you know, the WHO coming out and saying we don't have to worry about asymptomatic people anymore. Well, they have now clarified, and they clarified in what I was speculating yesterday, that it's not asymptomatic people that we don't have to worry about, it's pre-symptomatic people. So if you never end up having symptoms, there's a very good chance you weren't ever contagious. But if you will eventually have symptoms, you could be contagious early. So we can watch this clip here. It kind of explains things a little better.
This morning, new confusion about how the coronavirus spreads after a bombshell assertion by the WHO Monday suggesting transmission from patients who do not show symptoms is actually not very common.
From the data we have, it still seems to be rare that an asymptomatic person actually transmits onward to a secondary individual.
That directly contradicts current guidance from the CDC, which says the virus can spread from person-to-person contact even if the carrier does not have symptoms, a critical reason why the CDC recommends social distancing. The mixed messages leaving many frustrated as they try to protect themselves.
I feel like I don't know who to turn to get the truth.
We don't know who to follow and what to do at this point.
One unified voice giving us clear instructions on what to expect and how to keep each other safe would be most helpful.
The WHO epidemiologist who made the statement later explaining herself on Twitter, saying pre-symptomatic patients, those who show no initial symptoms, are a transmission risk, whereas asymptomatic patients, those who never show symptoms, are much less likely to transmit the virus.
This message from WHO, I think, was just a bit of a disaster because it caused so much confusion.
Dr. Ashish Jha is a professor of global health at Harvard University.
The bottom line is this. There are lots of people with infections who have no symptoms who are spreading the virus and getting other people infected. So that's why people have to wear masks. That's why people need to practice the social distancing.
We did reach out to the WHO and CDC for clarification, but have not yet heard back.
So I feel like you said it backwards, but let me just restate it so that you can tell me if I'm right. If you're
not
pre-symptomatic, that means you will eventually show symptoms and be sick.
Yes.
You are able to spread the virus. But if you're asymptomatic, meaning you may never have symptoms ever, it's like it just is a basal level that isn't affecting you much, you probably won't infect other people.
Correct.
Okay. That seems kind of reasonable, I guess, but I can also see asymptomatic people. It's like their immune system doesn't have the same response, but the virus is still in their saliva and in their droplets and their cough and everything. It still seems like they should be able to spread that, unless is the virus a weaker strain that they have, and that strain generally
maybe their body is somehow able to fight it. Maybe they're able to create antibodies. Maybe somehow their body stops it from spreading and continuing to be as contagious.
Still doesn't quite make sense to me, because if your body would be weaker, but if my body was strong enough and I have it and I'm asymptomatic, my body can handle it, I still feel like I would be able to spread the virus to you, right? Like if I have antibodies or my body knows how to fight it well and I'm asymptomatic, that doesn't change what the virus is in the droplets, right?
But I think for a weak person like me, the virus would be spreading throughout my body and becoming more and more stronger, and with each breath there'd be more virus particles.
That makes sense too.
And in your super strong, manly, what's the word I'm looking for? Immune system.
Yeah.
It would just be knocking those virus particles out. They wouldn't be replicating. Here's Dr. Fauci kind of also explaining it here.
WHO said yesterday that although there are asymptomatic infections and although asymptomatic people can transmit, they are not the drivers of the outbreak. The drivers of the outbreak are people who are symptomatic and transmit to others. That doesn't mean that asymptomatic transmission doesn't play a role, but it isn't the major driver of the outbreak. And yet there's this confusion when people talk about who's asymptomatic infection and who's driving it. But that's really what the WHO meant.
I mean, that makes sense too, but I wish I had the clip, because just a few weeks ago, we all crucified the governor of Georgia, who had the sign language guy in the background doing the crazy stuff, right?
Yeah.
David Letterman. Because he said, we just found out that asymptomatic people can now spread the disease. And we were all like, oh my gosh, Georgia is so far behind. They need to get rid of their governor. Like, he knew. But now, just a month later, they're saying he's kind of right, perhaps, in a weird way, but not totally right, because Fauci's saying there is still, like, I feel like what he just said is still a little different from what she was saying. He's saying that asymptomatic people still can.
Yeah, they're just
spread.
not a huge driver of it, which would make sense.
But if your wife or your kids are that person, you would think that they would probably get the virus, just because they're around them so long.
I don't know. Robert Hamilton says since June 14th, 14 states and Puerto Rico recorded highest ever 7-day averages of new COVID cases since the pandemic began, according to the Washington Post. Yes.
Were they talking about this time at dinner?
I think we were talking a bit about it. The problem with a lot of these numbers is that it's number of cases.
Yeah.
And of course, we're going to have more cases when testing is becoming more and more prevalent, especially here in Puerto Rico. I mean, we've had one of the worst testing percentages of any state in the United States.
Well, do we know, did we get totally ripped off with our purchase of tests?
Yeah, I don't know if we got that money back or not. Hopefully we did.
I'll try to look that one up.
But
is Nestor here? Maybe Nestor knows.
But I do have a clip about this, because the real number that actually is what we should be focused on is number of hospital beds filled, number of COVID deaths. Those are the things that shouldn't matter based on number of tests. Those are happening based on number of people who actually have it.
Unless we are testing more people dying. Couldn't we be
I don't think so. I think in the past they weren't testing people and they were just guessing. They were like, yeah, we assume, put their name down. So I don't see how it could be any more than that.
Yeah, maybe.
Let's see.
Cases are going up. I don't like the title of that.
This morning, coronavirus cases on the rise in 20 states, plus Puerto Rico. In Arizona, the state's largest health system has now reached capacity for patients needing external lung machines.
Would you say that the situation right now in Phoenix and in Arizona is dire?
Yes, it is. This is the time when we need to be speaking out.
The state seeing a record 1,500 new cases in a single day, 2 weeks after reopening. Texas, now open for more than a month, also seeing a steep increase in new patient admissions, with nearly 2,000 hospitalized. South Carolina reported nearly 550 new cases Monday, the highest since the pandemic began. And North Carolina is seeing its highest number of hospitalizations so far, more than 700. This upward trend prompting doctors to urge people to wear a face covering in public.
There are a lot of nurses. The ICU is very busy. So the amount of equipment, noise, staff that is helping to take care of our patients is more than I've seen in my 22 years of working here.
And this morning, new information on the virus, contrary to earlier thinking. The World Health Organization now saying that spreading the virus when you're asymptomatic is very rare. But some doctors are questioning that data.
We do know that there is a very small percentage of patients that at the time of testing and testing positive, they are without symptoms. So although the risk is very low, it's not zero. So what we still recommend is appropriate social distancing.
And as Congress investigates the intelligence community's handling of the coronavirus.
Okay, I think
Did you
they
catch
go on
her
to some
last
other
name?
things. No.
Just hit back once or twice. See if you do a stab at it.
Asymptomatic is very rare, but some doctors are questioning that data.
We do know that there is a very small percentage of
Layla? Oh. Garabaginian. Garabaginian. Yeah, Dr. Garabaginian.
It's probably actually pretty close. One thing that I noticed with this video and this is the media, I think, is one moment they say, I can't remember what it is, so I'll just make it up, but North Carolina reports the highest level of ICU admissions. Puerto Rico sees the highest number of cases in 7 weeks. And then New York is showing, they pick like completely different metrics. One is hospitalizations, one is death, one is brand new cases. And I'm like, well, do you just use all those different metrics because those were the record-breaking things and you needed 3 or 4 to put in your news story? Or can we just stick to the hospitalizations and only name like 2 places that maybe that's going up? Maybe it's going up in many, many states, but I just feel like it's a little strange when you're showing these numbers that are skyrocketing, but, oh, that's the cases. Maybe that's because we're testing more. Right. And then let's jump now to a completely different metric.
Yeah, I agree. Part of it's probably sensational, and then I'm sure some of it's true, negative news. I mean, the fact that hospitals are filling up faster than ever before in Texas would seem to be proof that things are going worse in Texas. In Puerto Rico, I can pull up the numbers really quick. I think I've got them right here. But our numbers are going up, but our testing has been so bad here, and our deaths are so low. So we have 142 deaths for our entire island of 3 million.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that's very, very low. But then, you look at places like Wyoming, 17 deaths in all of Wyoming. I don't know what the population is there.
Well, the other thing, I'm just thinking out loud here, which is often dangerous with me, but we've noticed over the last 7 months, 8 months now, that the virus travels in different waves, right? It hit Italy way before it hit the rest of Europe. And then we see it hitting Europe, and we still haven't really seen the numbers yet. And then it came to the United States. And I'm thinking, we're the last ones to get it. But that's not true, because then we saw Ecuador and some of these South American countries getting hit. And then now Brazil is getting hit the hardest. So it seems to be traveling in this really strange way. And I don't know if that has to do with geography, if it has to do with travel schedules. Maybe it has to do with the amount of citizens who take this seriously or not. Could the United States be the same way? Could people in Texas have just not gotten hit when New York got hit, and they maybe didn't take it as seriously because they were isolated geographically in the United States? And now this is just a wave that has been happening, like it's been happening all over the world. Because if you lump every state together and you start saying Puerto Rico is going up and Texas is going up, it makes it feel like the United States numbers are going up. But when I look at some of the other numbers, maybe you could, I don't know, it won't let you see the graphs on some of these states. I believe New York is plummeting in a large way, right?
Yeah, New York is definitely going down, but, look at New York's death per 1 million population is 1,500. Puerto Rico's death per 1 million population is 42. So, I mean, this is the debate.
We have a geographic uniqueness here. We are an island with 3 million people. So, I can see where Puerto Rico's number is completely different. But Texas is in the middle of the state. Maybe it's isolated in some way as well. I mean, it's a huge hub. It's one of the largest states in the country. But I could see where some states are going up while others are going down. That kind of makes sense to me, just in a geographic element, but also maybe the way people treat it. New York, everyone started wearing masks, taking it very seriously, whereas southern states didn't take it seriously at all, and maybe now time has caught up to them.
Well, that's the question, is all of this inevitable? Will every state's death per 1 million population be 1,500 eventually? Maybe it'll take years.
Yeah.
But will we all reach that number? And just by going into lockdown, we've just postponed it? I don't know. You hear the other stats coming out of Italy where they're saying they think maybe it's a new virus now that's mutated and it's not that dangerous.
Have you looked at the curves of Spain and Italy recently?
No.
It's pretty wild. I looked at them last night just to see how they were doing. Because the United States is kind of topped off, and we're at a plateau. We are going down ever so slightly, but the numbers are still staggering. When you look at Italy, look at the new cases here. It's not a plateau. I mean, maybe it is at the very bottom now, but it is clearly back to where it was at the beginning of all of this.
And you would expect Italy to still potentially be testing more than ever before because tests are more readily available.
Yeah.
I mean, Italy had no tests back then when this started. They were one of the first countries hit.
Right. But a lot of countries that were hit hard, Spain looks like this. I think the UK looks like this. France looks like this. But when I look at the United States chart, we are like way back at the peak there where we flattened out, but we aren't down to numbers at the beginning. I mean, Italy was down to where like March 22nd is or March 16th. They are now where they were when it just started to rise. We are very plateaued.
20,000 new cases per day. But pandemic's over, right? We can go back outside and go to Vegas now?
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. You just wear the face shield and you're good. Let's see what's next. You want to play this one next?
This is stock market stuff.
Oh,
If
okay.
you want to change topics.
I don't care. We can do that. Let's change topics.
David, I'll put this question to you. Do you think what we're seeing in the markets is the Trump re-election rally? If I count 6 months forward, which you all know the market likes to count six months forward, that brings us to December. And to your point, the economy is in fact coming back to some extent. Is the thesis here, economy comes back and somehow the president gets reelected and the tax rates stay lower?
The tax rate is a big part of it, but I don't think it's the bigger part of the rally here. This is more about the fact that we've kind of gotten control over what we were looking at. Look, we know now, Brian, that April was the economic bottom. Clearly, it had to be the bottom because we were at a virtual standstill. We came to a halt. This wasn't a recession that came about because of excesses in the economy or some mistake by government. A meteor hit the earth, and now we're coming back to life. And one by one, as communities go back to work, economic activity starts to pick up, and we start to get this rally. I'm sure Trump would like to see a better economy. It paints a better picture for him, and it increases his election chances. But this is more about people going back to work and medicine getting a control of this virus.
I love this guy's
Lighting
streaming setup. Yeah, it looks like a middle school boy.
He's like, I got this guitar, I got to put that in there, and then I got the light, I'll gel it blue. This will look really cool. So, at some point, the market should reflect what the outcome would be in our election. But I believe yesterday, all these polls came out showing Biden ahead in every poll by like 10 or 12%. And I think you even said, like, we were so wrong with the Hillary polls 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But at some point, you would think that the market, a normal functioning market, would try to get to the point where they could predict where we will be come January of next year. I don't know that we're anywhere near that. I feel like this election's like a free-for-all. I have no idea what's about to happen. I do know that we are about to see the ugliest election ever. Like, we haven't even got these two guys on stage debating each other yet. When is that going to happen?
I mean, luckily, Biden seems like a pretty nice guy. I don't think he's capable of being that nasty.
Really? He said some crazy things, kind of offensive things. If Trump starts jabbing him with, like, does he have a nickname yet?
Is it Sleepy Joe?
Sleepy Joe? Well, that doesn't sound that bad, but I just feel like once they get on stage and they have to debate, if they will, I mean, I guess they have to do that, but it just feels like we're not there yet, but we should be, right? Very soon?
Yeah, I can never remember how far out that starts.
Maybe we need the DNC's like official, what do you call it? Where you have the caucus or it's not the caucus, but they come to get the convention, they come together and name their candidate. But
Anthony says Democrats lost the riot narrative back to the Rona. Don't know what that means.
That means that he believes the Democrats have made up all of this, and that he believes that the riot narrative is slowly dwindling, and then we're getting back to coronavirus.
Oh, well, I definitely have felt that the last 2 days.
Yeah.
When I go to, because I'm going on the Twitters, I'm trying to find the most outrageous protesting footage, and it's non-existent. You know, I think people are getting tired. They're not doing that anymore. So then I'm going to all the news sites. News sites don't have any of the crazy footage to talk about anymore. So now they're going back to the Rona. So
well, the World Health Organization story was all over the sites.
Yeah.
I just wonder, are we now 14 days into all this crazy rioting? Like, isn't that such a long time? We're already in 2 weeks.
I just have to imagine, and maybe I'm really wrong right now, but it seems less dangerous to have all those people outside than everybody going to work and school. It seems like a school, for instance, would spread the virus more with kids inside all playing with each other and stuff. That seems like it would spread the virus more quickly than people at a protest, many of them wearing masks, yelling and stuff. Now, maybe I'm very wrong with that, but...
What are you saying? You're saying we should keep the protests going and delay daycares and schools?
No, I'm not saying that at all. You're just saying that has it been 2 weeks yet? Shouldn't we be seeing a massive spike? And I've never thought that.
Oh, no. I mean, well, yeah. Like, I feel like if I can keep my time straight, maybe next week would be 2 or 3 weeks since Memorial Day, and 2 weeks, maybe moving on to 3 weeks since the rioting started. Maybe we should see the numbers increase. That's what you would kind of expect. I wasn't saying that. I was just saying, how long do people have the patience to continue to protest? And if they're not protesting violently in some weird, sick way, I can see where that's exciting. Like, we're burning stuff and breaking stuff. Like, maybe if you like that thing, that sort of thing, you could go out and do that every night. But when we're standing out in the heat and we're just marching and it's gone back to being peaceful protests, which I think is what we would all like to see, how long do people have the willpower to continue doing that? And
or
at
the
what point?
bankroll. Eventually, they got to go back to work.
Well, that's what I keep wondering is also, too, is a lot of these people are saying, like, the narrative is we've gotten back to work and we've opened the economy, and that's why we're looking at the future and the stocks are going up. But I'm thinking, like, you see these marches, like, downtown L.A., and maybe it wasn't downtown L.A., but part of L.A. and Philadelphia. I mean, these are the largest crowds I've ever seen, you know? They're much larger than Trump's inauguration crowd, for sure.
Right.
And I'm just thinking, like, well, what are all these people doing on like, this is yesterday, Monday, Tuesday. Like, it's starting to get to the point where you're like, are all of these the unemployed people in the city?
I mean, if you're unemployed right now, you might be making more money than ever before, so that may not be a bad thing. Kira says, it's my birthday. For some amusement, can you guys switch seats? P.S. You're doing a really good job. Thank you all for your hard work.
You want to do that tomorrow?
Or should we just do it live right now?
You want to do it live? Is it going to just throw everything off?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what, like...
We have to, like, take this off. I don't think I've ever really sat in that seat.
I think I'm going to be way too tall in your seat.
Yeah. Water bottle. Oh, boy.
Kind of works.
Ah, yeah. It doesn't have much cushion. I feel like I'm all leaning back.
I know, yeah, it's much deeper.
Whew.
How do we look, you guys?
This is not too bad.
I feel like, yeah, look how much taller my head is than you. Like, the way the camera is and the way that the seat is higher than the sofa, it makes us look almost the same size.
Yeah, I look way smaller now.
Yeah, you look, this is what we look like in real life together.
I don't know about that.
You look like half my size. Okay. Oh man, it's weird to control the computer from a different seat now. While we're talking about conspiracies, let's talk about Trump. Trump's old man. Oh, this is weird too. Now I have to hit this. It's like I have muscle memory to hit stuff. This is really weird. Trump's conspiracy about the old man that, you know, busted.
Oh, you found a video, because I just have above this the tweet that he sent out, but I don't know.
I got the whole shebang.
Okay. Well, I was looking for that and couldn't find it.
The video showing Buffalo cops shove a 75-year-old man to the ground provoked outrage against police and prompted felony charges against 2 officers. But the footage also became fodder for unfounded conspiracy theories about the man being shoved. And on Tuesday, one of these baseless claims was trumpeted by the President of the United States. Donald Trump tweeted, "Buffalo protester shoved by police could be an Antifa provocateur." His apparent defense of the cops who shoved and critically injured 75-year-old Martin Gugino is in stark contrast with the reaction of other local officials. The Erie County executive said he was sickened by the video.
What we saw last night in front of City Hall is not acceptable here. It is not acceptable anywhere.
The Erie County District Attorney who charged the cops implored the police
to think about the oath they took when they were sworn in as police officers.
And on Tuesday, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo called the president's tweet
a reprehensible, dumb comment. and from the President of the United States.
The Washington Post reported that Gugino was active with human rights and affordable housing groups and part of the Catholic worker movement. The district attorney said that Gugino was taken to hospital, treated for a head injury, loss of consciousness, and bleeding from the right ear.
Antifa-like tactics.
Antifa is responsible for that unrest.
The president and his administration have tried to blame a group called Antifa after some anti-racist protests devolved into looting and arson. In his tweet on Tuesday, Trump tagged the far-right One America News Network. He appeared to be repeating an elaborate and unsupported claim by that channel that the man who was shoved was using an app on his mobile phone to interfere with police communications. Trump wrote, 75-year-old Martin Gugino was pushed away after appearing to scan police communications in order to black out the equipment. I watched. He fell harder than was pushed, was aiming scanner. Could be a setup?
What do you think it was? It was staged? You think the blood coming out of his head was staged?
In a statement, an attorney for Gugino on Tuesday said Martin is out of ICU but still hospitalized and truly needs to rest. Martin has always been a peaceful protester because he cares about today's society. We are at a loss to understand why the President of the United States would make such dark, dangerous, and untrue accusations against him.
Isn't it crazy that the President of the United States just comes out and makes statements like this? This is weird. Is this always in your line of vision here?
Yeah. I'm like kind of ready to go back.
It's making me very uncomfortable right here. Do you want to switch back?
I don't like looking at the drum set and your computer, and like I see everything is so different.
We got to go back.
This can't last. Oh, well, it was interesting. But...
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Happy birthday. Oh boy.
But the fact that the President of the United States will just come out and say stuff like that with no proof whatsoever, just like he could have been scanning something. It's staged. Maybe the blood was fake. Like, why would you come out and say, like, I can understand if it was one of us saying something stupid like that. It's like only a few thousand people watching. The entire world.
He didn't say that it was staged in the sense that, like, the blood was fake, right? Wasn't that what people were starting to pull out?
Well, no, he didn't say that directly, but, I mean, what is he inferring? If it's staged, then he said he fell harder than he was pushed, which I can agree with that.
You
like,
kind of said that the night we saw
yeah,
the
the guy
video.
wasn't violently pushed, but you can tell he's an old man and he wasn't able to catch himself, and his head hit hard.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if there is such an app that you can get on your iPhone, is that what he had, or do you have it like one of those Androids?
I don't know.
Can you just share in the comments the app that might allow me to tap into police scanners? I mean, there are some apps that you can download that use the internet to let you listen in on police scanners.
Well, he wasn't saying that. He was saying not that he would listen in, that he could like jam their communication or something.
It looked clear to me that he was returning a helmet. But I have seen his channel, his YouTube channel, and he does seem to be an activist, but that doesn't mean...
Some people...
You could be an activist and say, hey, there's like a police helmet here.
Sure.
You guys have it. Like, just because you stand up for people's rights doesn't mean that you're anti-cop necessarily, or not willing to hand over a piece of equipment in the moment. That seems strange.
Somebody was saying in the comments the other night that they looked into it, and they said that the guy was arguing with the police and was not there kindly returning a helmet.
So you need to see more footage than what was released?
For what?
Just to know if...
Well, I mean, it would be interesting to know if he was an old man going, here, I'm returning this to you, Mr. Officer, or if he was like, F you guys, I'm not moving. Like, those are two very different things, and one would warrant a light push, hopefully one that wouldn't end in such a horrible accident. But, yeah, I don't know. I just think it's crazy that Trump would tweet something like that.
Also, people are upset that he was using information from that news organization, OAN.
One American News Network.
But I, in this very podcast, have at some point found a news story. I think the story that I picked was just a camera at the press conference, but it was their channel.
Well,
but I didn't know what that was. Like,
yeah.
And I don't feel like I showed some unbiased video because it was just documenting what the press secretary was saying. But I could see how if you don't know these news channels. I'm sure he does know the news channels, though. He seems to know all the news channels.
Brad Fogel, thanks for the fist bump. TC Photo, it's a virtual tucking of bucks. Good job, guys. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Thank you for the super chat. Let's see. This is a crazy one. This is a crazy one. So, about defunding the police.
Is this my video or your video?
I think this is mine.
No. This is my video.
This
but
is your video.
Do you have one on this too?
Yes, I do.
Mine's not too crazy, but it
Maybe
it does leave a lot of questions.
Okay, we should play yours and let's set the stage and we'll discuss this.
So this is trending all over Twitter. The idea of like we need to defund the police and we need to pull money out of these organizations. And so far, I think we brought this up yesterday or Sunday night. The narrative is that we need to give this money back to the communities and somehow let the community enforce the laws, which sometimes sounds like just another police force.
Yeah.
But then other times people are saying, no, it means like more public housing and mental health services or something. It's very unclear, but...
Well, and other people are calling for a complete abolishment of the police as well.
Yeah.
And that's where the argument comes in, because anytime you say that's insane and these people are dumb, people are like, no, they're not calling for complete abolishment, which I have a video about after this. But let's see what this lady says.
Now, defunding police departments is a conversation happening in a lot of cities. Sound extreme? Well, it depends. Not everyone agrees on what exactly it means. So let's take a closer look. As protests against racism continue, there's a growing call to defund the police, but how would that work? And what are activists really asking for? Well, the idea of defunding police is actually not new. Murmurs calling for funds to be pulled from police departments started to grow after protests against police brutality in Ferguson, Missouri in 2014. But it was treated as a radical idea and didn't gain much traction. Now, as a spotlight once again shines on racial inequality, calls to defund law enforcement are growing louder. So does the idea actually mean disbanding police? Well, that kind of depends on who you ask. Some activists are calling for their budgets to be slashed and the money to be reallocated to social services. Others want all funding to be removed and departments dissolved. The idea being that communities of color often don't feel protected by police and rely more on community services to stay safe. But how likely is it an idea that seems radical to so many will be seriously considered? Well, in Minneapolis, it's already being talked about.
That's what my hair would look like if I let it grow.
Look at that guy right next to him, almost has the same hair.
City council member says they're talking about disbanding the existing police department and replacing it with a community-oriented public safety and outreach approach. And in some big cities reeling from budget issues because of the coronavirus pandemic, there's already talk of cutting but not eliminating.
What is this footage? It's like we're talking about cutting the police and they're like, let's film some flea market footage.
I think this is Minneapolis.
Okay, why are they in a flea market?
I don't know. They need the money they need to take the money from the police and put it into this building.
Funding for police departments. Now, Portland City Councilors will review police policies and procedures tomorrow night. Topics include body cameras, crisis intervention, and de-escalation. News Center Maine will be covering that discussion. We'll have the latest again at 11.
So here's a question that I have for you. She still didn't answer a lot of the questions that I think we all have, but at the end there, she mentioned body cameras, and I think, well, body cams have to be expensive. And you were saying this could be the ultimate answer. We just have body cameras running at all times. They're going to a cloud. You can't tamper with them. It's always released. But would defunding the police mean going against, like taking that technology away because we don't have the budget for it? Doesn't that seem like that could be the absolute opposite of perhaps what you might want?
And if poor communities are the ones that have the most crime, they need more police officers. And I understand if you're being treated unfairly by the police, we need some sort of oversight for that. I think body cams would be the ultimate way to do that. But you could have some group that oversees
police injustice or brutality.
Yeah, I don't know what it would be, but the idea that we're going to get rid of police or even get rid of some police because, if we just had less, then there'd be less police violence. Like that makes
But you say less
no
police,
sense.
but you're not against the idea of getting rid of police that have complaints or records or...
No, the
there's
ones
like-
that are the most violent, we need to pay them more money because they're the... I'm joking. Okay, so...
What is going on with this monitor?
What's it doing?
Oh, it's got all these boxes around. Is that normal? It's always
Yeah, it's always like that. Switching seats. Mess with your brain.
I don't recall ever seeing those, but...
Okay, so a lot of people argue that, like, no, when we're talking about defunding the police, we're not talking about getting rid of police officers. We just don't think police should be militarized and they don't need machine guns and stuff. And we're going to take the money from the machine guns and we're just going to help homeless people, or we're going to help people with anger issues or mental problems or whatever. I'm like, okay, that sounds reasonable. But that is not what a lot of people are calling for. And I have the craziest clip ever of the, I think it's the mayor of Minneapolis. Right here. At one of these protests. And they're up on stage, Black Lives Matter's up on stage, and is like, if he doesn't give us what we want, he's coming up for re-election, we know what we're gonna do, right? Watch what happens. This is so crazy.
Black Lives Matter, to their credit, wanted a real answer to their question. It was then that Jacob Frey made a fatal mistake. He put himself in a position where he could be asked that question directly. Here's what happened next.
Yes or no, will you commit to defunding Minneapolis Police Department?
Okay, so will you commit to defunding? She didn't say abolish. She said defunding, which many people would argue like, no, we still need police. We just want some of the...
We want some budget cut on it.
Yeah, yeah.
What did I say? We don't want no more police.
Okay, so he says the complete abolishment of it, and she goes, what did I say? You said defunding. You didn't say complete abolishment. And then she's like, I don't want no more police. So like, no police in the entire city, state, who knows? That's what she wants, and she has fired up this entire crowd to say, like, if he doesn't agree to abolishing all police officers, he's not getting reelected.
No more. Clear.
I do not support full
This is who? The governor?
Yes.
Mayor?
Mayor.
Is the mayor like 25 years old?
Yeah, he seems really young.
Maybe that's what their problem is. They just have somebody in power that's way too young to...
But,
Not
yeah.
trying to age discriminate or anything.
And apparently you did. But this guy was going out there. I didn't play the beginning of this clip, but this guy went out there. He was trying to apologize. He was trying to say, like, we need change. I'm willing to do what it takes. And then they come up with this outrageous request. Just abolish all police. Will you do it? If you won't do it, we're not going to reelect you. And then he says no, which of course is the reasonable answer to that. Like, no one can say we are going to get rid of all police.
He could have just said yes. Because she said, we don't want no mo police. Which, like people are mentioning in the comments, is a double contraction, double negative.
And then he could have like,
yes,
when he was like ripped apart
Because
on
he
Fox News afterwards, he could be like, oh, like I thought she was saying she wanted to have the same number of police with a slightly decreased budget.
We don't want no more police.
Yeah. Yeah, but
it'd be interesting to see
unbelievable.
where it goes, because like I just think of the little petty crimes. I don't know, like I've had some petty crimes in Charleston. I think I've mentioned this before, people stealing stuff off my porch. And I'm thinking like a lot of these people that have been stealing stuff off my porch, it's not like they have mental health issues. They have homes, not nice homes, but they're like in a housing project just down the street. So I'm just thinking like, what would you give those people? And sometimes they're kids, sometimes they're grown men. What would you give them? I guess financially or as a service, public service? What would you do to them, give to them to prevent them from feeling the need to just steal random packages off my porch?
I mean,
it feels like you need
good vibes.
You need police.
No, you'd give them love.
I don't know that would
and
stop that.
Care and understanding, and then they would leave your Amazon boxes alone.
I mean, Charleston is a party town. I know so many people that live in the historic part of Charleston that they have people leaving the bars of all colors and ages, leaving the bars and like peeing in their yards and stuff. What would you do from a social system to give to those drunk people leaving the bars late at night that would make it okay for them to stop peeing in the yard if we didn't have cops that would, like the alternative is cops are going to give them a ticket.
Mhm.
Maybe they even get some kind of indecency or indecent exposure.
Maybe, maybe they go, like, the city could band together and pass out diapers or something.
Maybe, but like that's my point is like, what is it that we're going to do that's going to like make everyone feel the need not to break any laws that we have?
That's what's so frustrating about a lot of these movements. I remember this with the Occupy Wall Street stuff. They'd interview these people, and each person you would interview would have like another goal for the group.
Yeah.
But when you would ask them like, what is the goal and how are you going to accomplish this and what about these problems that will arise with these goals, you'll realize that like, oh, they haven't really considered this at all. You know, they would just say things like, rich people are raping America. We have to get rid of rich people. Okay, how do you want to get rid of rich people? They have to pay their fair share. What is their fair share? 50%. What if we told you that the average rich person pays over 60% in taxes? Well, then they should pay more. And it's just like, okay, this isn't, it's like, it's not well thought out, you know? You're not actually going to change anything unless there's an actual goal here. And abolishing all police is certainly not.
Somebody says public urinals. Actually, I mean, that is a good idea. Was it Amsterdam we were at where there's just a urinal that pops up in the middle of the street?
Yeah.
And you can walk into, it's very weird, but you're protected. It's like a half circle or mostly a
I don't
circle.
think the people living in historic homes in downtown Charleston want the pop-up porta potties
Not in
near
their
their
little
homes.
neighborhoods.
No.
But do you remember when I had a package stolen off my porch and I was going through the like trying to find out who the guy was and I posted the security footage to our neighborhood group and there were so many people. There was one guy in particular who was like, you should not call the police over this. And I was like, what do you mean? I just had packages stolen off my porch. Who knows? I mean, we're photographers. We get thousands of dollars of gear sometimes shipped to us.
Yeah.
And it sits on the porch. And I'm just like, he's like, it's just some packages. Report it to Amazon and get another package. And I'm like, what if I bought it from B&H? Or it doesn't matter who I bought it from. Like, if an expensive item is stolen off my porch.
You're okay living in a community where
I was
people
like,
do
what
that?
are you? And I got in an argument with him for a while, and I was like, this guy seems insane. That
Well,
he's
he would
just-
be for the abolishment of police.
He just seemed to act like, yeah, just don't worry about it. That guy probably has bigger needs than you do, and don't. I'm just thinking like, I mean, what if it like at the time I was trying to find a diamond ring for my fiance? Like, what if he'd stolen like a diamond off the porch? You know, at that point it'd be like grand larceny or something. It like escalates to a high enough level. But I'm just thinking like, are you saying it's okay because it's Amazon? It's okay if it's B&H. It's okay if you feel like I fit in a certain social class. But it doesn't make any sense. You have to draw the line somewhere, you know?
Yeah. I draw the line for all theft, no matter how
That's
petty.
how I feel. So, and, you know, there might be an argument. We're talking about the guys that were destroying the USPS trucks. Like, there might be a federal offense. Like, I don't know where it is when you throw a box on a porch. Is that the same as a mailbox? Is it any mail that goes to the Postal Service? I don't know all the details there, but it could be a federal offense.
Yeah. Photog Mike says, thoughts and prayers, the same thing the government gives us. So, yeah, so we get rid of the police. We hire teams of people to walk around, and when people have trouble, you yell out thoughts and prayers, and then they stop stealing.
Somebody says, don't you need a police report to actually say the package was stolen? Yeah, I had to send a police report to Amazon to say that my packages were stolen. I will say Amazon was like on top of it. They refunded it. They didn't refund anything. They just shipped out another thing. But I'm wondering, like, who's taking that hit? Is it Amazon? Is it the storefront that sold through Amazon?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it
I think
Postal Service?
Amazon takes the hit.
Yeah.
I think. Kevin says, defunding the police or getting rid of the police is deflecting the issue. A police officer shouldn't be taken to the same standard as citizens since they learn how to control their emotions. I don't know. I feel like they should be treated the exact same as a citizen. But you must consider the situation they're in. Like, if somebody throws something at them and then they use extreme force to control that guy, like, I'm not going to feel bad for the guy who threw the brick first, you know? Like, if he gets beat up and taken down, he shouldn't get killed, obviously. But if he gets beat up and taken down, like, that's what you got to do. Yeah.
Our society doesn't like to think of consequences all that much.
No, not in these times, that's for sure.
I wonder where it all ends. Like, listening to the book, she starts going on to how, like, Thomas Jefferson was this horrible racist guy, and I can't remember what he was trying to do. There was something that he was trying to get passed in the law back then, but I could easily see we are not very far away, I feel like, from a large percentage of our population, maybe like 50% of every American saying, like, the Constitution needs to be abolished. It's racist. It was drafted during racial times. It's unfair to a large percentage of our population. Like, where do you draw the line here? Like, right now, we didn't get any clips of these, but you see all these Confederate statues and stuff are coming down all over the country.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. Part of me is like, it is kind of weird to hold these things up, you know? Like, maybe they belong in a museum. I'm all about Southern culture. I get it. I was watching, like, Kristen put on something that was, like, top guitar solos of all time. And there's, like, Leonard Skinner doing Freebird, and it cuts back, and it's like, there's the Confederate flag behind them, you know? And I'm like, you know, there was Confederate Railroad is a band from, you know, the 90s. I get it. Like, people find that as a cultural symbol to some degree, but when you start having the monuments up for these war heroes that lost a war, and the war was 50% about slavery,
yeah,
it's like, I do feel like maybe those should be removed, but I just wonder, like, where do you take it? Do you start to say that our entire Constitution is veiled in this bit of white supremacy or racism, and we should get rid of that entirely, even though you might be able to step out and look at it from a world point of view and say, it might be one of the top 10 written laws that's progressive and new. Like, you know, at the time that it was written, it was a very new way of governing. It's a very fair, and, like, it gives people the rights to freedoms.
I mean, I definitely see what you're saying, and I'm sure there's Americans right now who are saying that sort of thing, but isn't the Constitution pretty vague? And that's why we've had all of these amendments and everything. So wouldn't we just add more amendments?
Well, that would be the reasonable thing to do, I would think.
Yeah.
I don't know how, it's got to be so hard to pass an amendment, though. And in our polarized country, I don't know that we can easily do that.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to investing.
Retail traders are cashing in on this market rebound. Many of the top stocks on Robinhood have seen triple-digit returns in the past month, while some Wall Street veterans were left on the sidelines. Robinhood CEO Vlad Tenev saying at a virtual conference last week they were seeing a lot of buying of industries hit by the pandemic, including airlines, hotels, and casinos. A lot of those names have come roaring back. Take a look. The top names on Robinhood in the past month: children's media company Genius Brands. That was up more than 700% for the month of May. The airline's also a top trade, with American Airlines jumping 100%. Robinhood and major brokerage firms have seen record new accounts open this year. In some cases, these first-time traders are beating Wall Street legends and billionaire hedge fund managers who thought the market would retest its lows. And some of these day traders are not afraid to take a victory lap on Twitter. Take CEO of Barstool Sports Dave Portnoy, who recently picked up day trading, calling out Warren Buffett for unloading airline stocks too soon. Portnoy says he made $300,000 in a day on the airlines. Guys?
Hey, it's so interesting because we were just talking about how at the lows it was a lot of Main Street that was buying the market while Wall Street was selling, and it feels like, you know, they were betting on America. You know, they had some more conviction that we were going to get through this. When I look at the frenzy of activity lately, I just wonder, is it too much of a good thing? There are some say, you know, it's the fault of Robinhood and these other places for cutting commissions to zero. But we've seen this before. I mean, we saw that huge move in Virgin Galactic and some of the stocks earlier this year before the market tanked. Now we have Luckin Coffee and Nikola and all of these new kind of cult stocks. It just feels frothy, doesn't it?
It does. And names like Hertz, you have names that are going bankrupt. They're actually soaring on platforms like Robinhood. So you have to wonder if these are long-term plays. And criticizing someone like Warren Buffett, who, of course, is a longtime investor, Dave Portnoy has also had some losses that he's public about. And he has said that when sports come back, he won't be as interested in day trading. And a lot of folks that we've spoken to have seen it as sort of a short-term, exciting bet. And we'll see how much the retail interest sticks around when sports come back and if it lasts to the end of the year.
I assume you had no money in any of those. triple-digit
No.
winners.
Mike Kelly was talking trash to me today because Mike Kelly has been buying this whole time, and so he's made a ton of money, and he was texting me today like, what have you been buying, Lee? And I'm like, puts and shorts, Mike Kelly. They're all worthless or negative.
My account is now at the highest it's ever been. That doesn't mean I haven't lost some money, because I lost money and then I put cash in and now it's going up. So like there's this weird dip in my trajectory. But my account has never been the number that it is now. It's the largest number.
That's such a silly way to look at it, though. Like you should count the incredible loss you took by making the worst sale of your life. But instead, you're just like, oh, I put more money in. Look, number big. I'm winning.
I mean, I'm still I'm probably 75% in the market now. So I've ridden all of that back. With 25% of the money that I've been putting in slowly, I've been making pretty good gains on that.
Oh, I see.
So, I mean, I'm definitely down if I just would have done nothing and just held. But I still am breaking new milestones now. Like I'm seeing it go higher and higher.
And you expect it to continue to go higher?
I don't know. Like part of me thinks you're betting against the Fed, and the Fed might make a decision that will prop up the market in the short term, but maybe in a year or two, maybe their decisions they're making now could cause the entire dollar to crash. But in the meantime, like in the moment, especially if Donald Trump is somehow manipulating the Fed, if they're working hand in hand, which a lot of people kind of think that they are, I feel like you're betting against this machine that you're not going to win against.
So there'll never be another crash?
Well, no. I mean, there could be another crash eventually, but I think in the short term, as we start opening up and business starts improving and they pass another stimulus bill, and I don't know, I just feel like there's enough going on to where the virus seems to be like disappearing on some levels, at least in other countries. It feels like if you take the pulse of the virus, besides like South America, it feels like coronavirus is declining as a whole. Maybe in Texas and a few states it's getting worse.
No,
but it feels like it's going down.
It feels like that.
So I just think until like the day that we start, like the week that we start finding insurgents within France and Italy and like we start saying, oh my gosh, other countries are starting to have record breaks again. I think until that moment happens, maybe the economy is going to keep going up. Like it doesn't make sense to me. I am very concerned about all of these Robinhood traders who are just taking their like stimulus money and putting it straight into the market and day trading. I mean, somebody sent me a tweet today and said that their son is having to split his Fortnite time with investing in the market. He's 10 years old. He's like, all of his friends all have Robinhood accounts. I don't even know how that's legally possible.
I mean, it's straight up gambling. It is like you are teaching your kids to gamble. They are playing roulette at that point.
And if you bought Amazon or something, even if Amazon's overpriced at the moment, I don't know that that's gambling.
Well, it depends on how long you're willing to hold.
But if you're buying Hertz and they're going bankrupt, it maybe even then, maybe bankrupt Chapter 11, maybe that's not that bad. Maybe buying that now is a smart decision. But they're on the brink of potentially going to Chapter 7. And I mean, I don't know that rental cars are going to be anywhere that they were in January. People aren't going to be everyone's debating if. I saw a news story that said 50% of Americans are deciding to cancel their vacation plans this year. That's huge. 50% of Americans aren't going to take the summer vacations that they were once going to take. That's got to affect hotels.
That's what makes no sense. The stock market's at the same price that it was like when we were at the best the economy has ever been, and there was no pandemic on the horizon, and there was no unemployment on the horizon. And now we're back at the exact same level we were at?
Could the economy be kind of like thermodynamics, where they say, like, you can't just delete energy? It's like, yes, maybe many stocks are suppressed, but all of that energy is going into another stock. Maybe these companies like Amazon and stuff, people are sitting at home and using more data centers and using AWS and buying more computers and servers and doing Skype calls and all this. And maybe that sector really is growing and another sector is taking the fall. But like the money itself, I guess when you start printing money, I guess that's now injecting something out of nothing.
Yeah.
Kind of defeats the point. But I guess in a closed system, maybe you could have the market continue to grow in a way that makes sense. I don't know.
RJ says, that dude probably stole your box, Patrick. Don't know what that means. By the way, enjoy the show from day one and your tutorials for photographing the world. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much. Dave Cat, thank you for the super chat. Photog Mike, am I wrong, or did not Thomas Jefferson father a bunch of children with slaves he owned? You are absolutely right.
What does that imply? That he is or isn't racist?
Yeah, maybe he's insinuating that he isn't racist. Pretty sure he did it in a racist way. I think I went to Thomas Jefferson's house, if I remember correctly.
That makes you more of a racist.
No, it was a historical. I think I went there for like a field trip with one of my schools.
Is he Monticello? Is that his place?
I don't know. Kevin says, when police officers are killing their citizens for no good motive, they should be punished more severely. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like we have.
What does that mean, more severely? Shouldn't they just be punished correctly?
Based on the level of, we have like the murder one and manslaughter and all that stuff. It should just somehow, like maybe you could say it's instead of manslaughter, is manslaughter 2 more lenient than manslaughter 1?
Keep going.
Explain
more?
Whatever. Maybe you could say that a police officer in a position of power, like it would be pushed up to the next level, something like that.
I think first-degree murder means it was premeditated. It means I hate my ex-wife and I'm going to poison or kill her
tonight,
or in a week, or whatever. Like I'm driving over there and I have a gun and I have the capacity to kill her tonight.
Yeah.
That's first-degree murder. I don't know the difference between second and third, but second could be like in the moment you acted in a way, But then manslaughter is kind of like that too. If somebody just comes into your house and you stand your ground, I think you can be charged with manslaughter just for killing somebody in the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
But where that gets moved to like murder 2 and 1 and 3, I don't know all the details there, but it just feels like you should hold the police accountable like every other citizen. I don't know if you should punish them more severely. Like if a cop kills a guy, he should be charged, go through the judicial system. The problem is it seems like the system isn't holding him accountable.
Yeah.
But are you going to punish all the other police in the force that didn't commit that crime? I don't know that you should do that. I think you should just hold them all to the same standard.
Send them thoughts and prayers. Photog Mike says, you only make or lose money when you sell, and Patrick's been good at selling and losing money.
Unless, Photo Mike, they go bankrupt, and then you lose all that money.
That's true. Maybe how does that work? Do they force you to sell? What happened with our Kodak stock years ago? They went bankrupt and
I think the equity does that all like get repossessed and it's like the company's assets? Their stock like gets reabsorbed in the company and sold off to a creditor or to a new buyer or something? If you own a share in a company and that company goes bankrupt, I don't think you don't own that share anymore. I think it's like the creditors or the courts take that back.
Maybe so. Or you own it, but it's just worthless.
So this last video we had was about retail investors, meaning people like us who don't
Wait,
really know
so
what we're
you
doing.
don't want to play number 8?
Yeah, number 8.
Okay.
The last video was about how all these people are going to Robinhood and buying stocks and that they are outperforming the institutional investors.
Yeah.
So here is the Barstool Sports guy talking about this.
Alaska Airlines up 17%. Boeing up 13%. Carnival up 16%. Delta up 7.5%. What do you do if you listen to old man?
I like that this guy has the Yeti microphone, yet can't figure out how to turn it on.
Does he not look like he's like super coked out or something? Like he just looks like a coked out kingpin, like a drug cartel guy or something.
Buffett, get out on the airlines. Idiot. What an idiot. Norwegian up 18%. Spirit up 12%. Unbelievable. All I do is make money. This game's so fucking easy. Look at me. Look at me. It's so fucking easy. Literally the easiest game I've ever been a part of. Up, 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 up. It's just, I'm just printing money. I'm up 200 and...
This is what I imagine Mike Kelly's doing. He's like, Lee, have you bought any of these stocks? And I'm like, no, I'm losing money like crazy. And he hangs up and then he's like this. He's like, it's so easy.
I have
can't stop.
been in his shoes before, and it was the Bitcoin run.
Yeah, and you wouldn't
of
stop
2000
talking about it.
I went out and bought like a pinstripe suit. I was like, dude, I just made like 20 grand in like a month. I'm a genius. Bitcoin's at, Bitcoin, it's at $15,000 now. It's $18,000. How could you not get in, dude? Get in now. Look where it was. It used to be dollars. Now it's $15,000. Buy like 4 of them. And then reality sunk in. And so maybe this is a sign that like the top is in. When people like this are saying it's so easy, it's like,
so easy. Just put your money in.
Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
I think you paused it right when he's saying the number he's made, but
90 grand on the day, and I'm mad, and I'm mad as hell. Mad as hell. Because I've sold so much of my fucking airlines because of you fucking take profits, people. Why take profits when every stock goes up? Every airline goes up 20% every day. You just wake up 20%. Losers take profits. Winners push the chips to the middle and know the 7 ain't coming. I should be up $1 billion. I should be up $1 billion. That's how right I have been about cruises and airlines. They're not just up; they're up 1,000,000,000%. I should be up $1 billion.
He said he was up $290,000.
And soon to be $1 billion. It's up 1 billion%. Did you know? Cruise lines are up 1 billion% right now.
1 billion
Yeah,
percent.
1 billion%.
Oh man, they're now running the whole world.
Yeah, I didn't know I liked that guy so much, but I think I like him now.
He's definitely entertaining. You should watch his videos where he eats the pizza.
Yeah, well, that's what Photog Mike says. He needs to stick to eating pizza. Let's see. Are retail investors wrong? I will mention this. We've heard there's a pretty big investor in our neighborhood. And he's been saying from the very beginning, he was like, you do not want to be in this market. And people were like, should I buy in? And he was like, no, do not buy in. Maybe it'll go up, but don't buy, like you don't want to be in this. And I was like, should I be shorting the market? And he was like, no, don't short the market either. Just stay out of the market if you're already out. And you're basically shorting the market in a safe way. And then you're going to get in when it hits really low. But he was like, don't short the market. It's just too risky. Well, I heard today that he has started shorting the market. He believes we've hit an all-time high. Many people, big investors in this neighborhood, believe that we've hit all-time highs.
I just feel like I've heard this so many times.
We
My,
have.
my investing group, like many of them stopped shorting the market a few weeks ago. They're like, I just can't keep doing this.
You're right.
I was shorting the market like when it crashed. You've still held on to your SPXU or whatever that you have? That's got to be worthless by now.
I haven't looked at it. This is going to be too painful.
I'm very tempted to start pulling, you'd be upset with me, to start pulling some money off the table.
Only losers do that.
I mean, the market's already, we hit the NASDAQ. I didn't have a story on this, but the NASDAQ hit all-time high today, or at least back where it was. I think it did hit an all-time high today. NASDAQ's on an all-time high. Amazon all-time high. Maybe they declined a little bit at the close, so they're not quite there, but statistically we're there. I'm just like, all right, we've rebounded. What is the upside? Are you telling me this last year that we were all, like a year ago we were saying this market's got to correct?
Yeah,
but you're still addicted. You're addicted a little bit, and you're just like, I'm just gonna wait. And then all of a sudden coronavirus, and you're like, holy crap, rug's been pulled from underneath me. I didn't act fast enough. Like I think that's when you realize you can't act fast enough, right?
Yeah.
But now we're right back where we were.
You have a second chance.
I feel like I do, and I feel like I'm tempted to just sell a lot of it. Like I still feel like owning some of these airlines, it just feels like they will eventually come back, and they're so discounted. I'm not that upset about those, but when I see like AMD and Adobe and Microsoft and like all these tech stocks, Zillow, I mean, so many stocks they're just rebounded all the way, and I'm like, this is insanity. Tesla. You telling me all these people are going to be buying Tesla cars in the next year or two?
Mike Kelly says he's getting his Tesla this week. I'm like, you're buying a Tesla before a world depression? He's like, yeah, I'm buying a Tesla and I'm buying a house. I hope he's right. I hope pandemic's over.
You know, I bought a suit once.
That was the sign.
That was the sign.
The problem is Mike Kelly's about to drop like $1 million. You bought a crap suit as a joke.
Yeah, to be fair, it was like a $60
Yeah, he's about to drop like all of his money on a bunch of stuff at what I think is the worst possible time, but who knows.
So 9 is your guitar guys.
Hey,
back.
David, you know, we saw some new data from RobinTrack, which takes a look at Robinhood, the app, and they're finding that retail investors are running into this market, that it's really the retail investor, not the institutional investor, that has been driving the rally. Yet on the other side of the coin, we see that investors are remaining pretty cautious. They're actually keeping a significant chunk of their assets in cash. I just found something from Deutsche Bank saying money market assets remain at financial crisis highs at $5 trillion. So what do you make of those two bits of data that seems to paint a controversial look at how at sentiment from the retail investor right now?
It's a nice way of putting it. It's very controversial. It's very confusing. I think there's been a lot that's been confusing here. Some of the brightest minds on the planet were probably caught off guard by this. You saw, some brilliant investors like a Warren Buffett sell his airline stocks at the absolute bottom. Some other large hedge fund managers underinvested, professionals like myself underinvested at the bottom, and slowly but surely the market has dragged us back in. The retail investor has been piling money into the market to a certain degree, but it's the institutional money that drives things in the long run. Make no mistake, a lot of institutions put a lot of money and a lot of capital back to work in the last couple of weeks.
So I guess if that's true, do you feel like these institutional investors are going to now come back in and it's going to pop to the upside, or that they are still being...
Has it not popped to the upside?
I mean, it has, but if most of it is just people and Robin, I mean, I can't believe, we've talked about this last couple of days, I can't believe that just retail investors like us who have very little money in the big scheme of things are suddenly making the whole market go up. There's just not enough money from all these people with these, did they say there was 1 million Robinhood accounts opened up the day the market crashed in March? Even if 1 million of those people invested $1,000, I still don't think that would be even enough to make a dent in the market.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I feel like it seems foolish to say these smart investors were left out in the dark and have no idea what's going on.
I know.
To say that Warren Buffett, there was another video of the Barstool Sports guy going on a rant just saying Warren Buffett is done. He's old school. He doesn't know what's going on. I'm not saying I'm a better investor. He's going to the Hall of Fame. But today, he's out of it, and I know what I'm doing way better than he knows what he's doing. And I'm like...
He got lucky one day, and he's like, I'm smarter than Warren Buffett.
He's like, I bought the dip. Meanwhile, Warren Buffett is at the dip saying I need to cut my losses because everything that we're studying looks like it's about to be way worse down the road.
Yeah.
Maybe that's 6 months. And 3 months later, it's looking peachy, but...
See what's next. Remdesivir.
Some breaking news from Gilead this morning. Meg Terrell joins us with details on the phase 3 trial of Remdesivir in patients with moderate COVID-19. Meg.
Hi, Joe. Well, of course, we know that Remdesivir is already cleared on an emergency use basis in the United States based on studies we already saw. This is yet another trial that Gilead was running, this in more moderate patients who are hospitalized with COVID-19. Previously, they reported results of more severe patients. This is a drug that is thought to work better if given earlier in the disease. They found with a 5-day course of treatment, Remdesivir reduced the risk of, were 65% more likely to have a clinical improvement after 11 days versus patients who were just receiving standard of care. Now, these results are a little bit confounding because they also looked at a 10-day course of treatment. They said it trended towards statistical significance, but it wasn't statistically significant. So you're seeing Gilead stock down just less than 1% in the early trading, and this is just kind of adds to that mixed picture of the data on Remdesivir. Yes, it does appear to work and to help with COVID-19, but it is not that slam dunk curative treatment that people are looking for. Guys, back to you.
So that's encouraging.
Was it encouraging?
I mean, it's just another... I mean, anytime a drug's moving into, phase 3, and it's showing some promising effects on people that are taking it fairly early in their treatment, I mean, it's at least something, it's not the hydroxychloroquine.
Well, what is?
I mean, very few things are that.
Yeah, that's the best.
Hyped up so much, and then, depending on who you talk to, are disappointing, but... It feels like this is actually showing pretty good results in many different tests.
You got a video here about Nikola versus Tesla.
I am not a car guy, but their stock popped are they up 100%? And they just went public 5 days ago or something like that?
I don't know about that. Maybe so. I thought it was earlier, but maybe you're right. But this company, what was the company that that said that they could like check your blood and know it would test your blood, and it was a big scam.
I remember the girl who,
whatever that company was. That's what this company seems like to me.
Yeah.
This seems like the biggest scam ever. I think they're valued at something like 12 or 13 billion dollars right now.
Their CEO is in this clip, and he looks like he's 28.
Yeah, and
he doesn't
they
talk like...
They do nothing proprietary. Here's their business plan. He's like, we're going to partner with the best manufacturers in the world. Instead of us trying to make the best batteries and the best motors and the best wheels and the best everything, we're going to just outsource everything. We're going to get the best components, and we're going to put them together, and we're going to make cars and jet skis and trucks and like semi-trucks and everything. And we're going to sell them, and they're going to be the best because they're made with other people's proprietary hardware and software, not ours. So like, you want to have autonomous driving? Well, who are we to make autonomous driving? We're just going to hire the best company to put autonomous driving in our car. And apparently that's enough now for your company to be worth 12 or 13 billion dollars. I don't think they have a single working car yet. They claim that they're going to release some like off-road four-wheeler type car next year. It's going to cost $80,000.
Is this their truck?
No, I think the truck comes out much later.
The truck started pre-orders today is what they started.
Okay. And
I have to say, that truck looks a lot better than Tesla's truck, though.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
The design does, but
yeah.
I don't know anything about it.
Well, there's also the other truck. What's the other truck? Rivian. I feel like the Rivian truck looks super cool, too. But unlike these other companies, it's like Tesla actually makes real products that work, that people can get in and test drive. And Tesla, you know, everybody's got all these projections of how powerful their batteries are going to be and everything. And then when they actually have to make a car, they realize like, oh, we don't even have access to normal batteries, let alone access to these secret batteries that, you know, everybody claims they're inventing but don't actually exist. So let's watch this video.
You know, when we last spoke, again, as I referenced in early March when you joined us at the New York Stock Exchange, you talked about an $800 million order from Anheuser-Busch. You also mentioned that there are orders that are many times bigger than that. Is that still the case? And can you tell us about any other orders?
Yeah, there's a lot of really good interest and a lot of good customers that are wanting the trucks. The hardest part we have right now is trying to figure out how to deliver them with the infrastructure going up at the same time. So for your audience, real quick, we have both a hydrogen electric truck that requires the hydrogen network to be built simultaneously with those orders. And then we also have the battery electric truck, which does not require the infrastructure because they can just put chargers on site. So the battery electric trucks coming off the assembly line next year will be delivered to customers kind of throughout the country. The hydrogen trucks, we're working on those locations. And why the difference? Well, hydrogen goes further than a battery electric truck does, and it's a lot lighter to operate. So they hit two different markets. So ultimately, it's just a lot of like juggling these different things, but we're pretty close. We just ordered the largest order ever of electrolyzers that I know of. It was an order yesterday. It was over $30 million to produce over 40,000 kilograms of hydrogen. We just made that order yesterday from Nel out of Norway. So we're already prepping our first 5 stations to be up and running. We're breaking ground. We should be breaking ground this year on these stations.
Okay. At what point would you share with us then what you again had told me, that you were ready to announce some orders many times bigger than the $800 million order with Anheuser-Busch?
We're close, and I'll tell you what. As soon as we're ready to announce it, we'll give you a ring so you can we can revisit that in person again. But it's close. It's really close. We're just trying to deal with a lot of logistics around with the customers, the PR, everything else. So it's coming soon.
You probably stop there. What is the hydrogen truck or hydrogen cars?
So that's
always been the like holy grail, but is that a reality now?
It is a reality. You can buy, I think you can buy hydrogen cars in California. They have some hydrogen fuel stations there. I think maybe Honda has hydrogen cars, like one. Maybe Toyota has one. But Elon Musk has come out and said it's not a good decision. It's highly dangerous. It's extremely expensive. Creating liquid hydrogen is incredibly energy inefficient. So I think most people have agreed that it's not a really good fuel source for the average person. Now, maybe you could argue that for semi-trucks, it is maybe a better solution. If you could have like a really big tank of it, maybe you could go a really long distance, so it would make a little bit more sense. But this company's doing weird stuff. They're saying like, you can buy one of our pickup trucks, which is going to come out in the next few years. It'll be a battery truck, but it's going to have a space for a hydrogen generator, and you can buy it later and snap it in, and then you can have a hydrogen generator too. And it just, when I hear this guy talk, and they're like, tell me about all of these sales you're making. He's like, oh yeah, they're coming in everywhere, and I can't talk about it yet, but we'll talk about it soon. And oh yeah, the trucks, they're gonna be on the road next year. Think about how impressive of a company Tesla is, and how many people are working, and how much practice they've had for years now making these electric cars. And Tesla can't even come close to hitting their deadlines. How is this dude gonna hit his deadlines? He doesn't make anything. All he does is buy parts and put them together.
Everything that we just saw, are those simulations, or they actually have an 18-wheeler?
That looked like a real truck, but I haven't seen any test drives. I haven't seen anything with that car. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it's kind of vaporware.
How do you say this word? Is it Theranos?
Yeah, Theranos.
And what was that? You could get like a genetic test done, and it was like 23andMe plus.
It was basically like if you get a blood test, you can get tons of blood drawn and shipped to a bunch of different labs, and they can check you for hundreds or thousands of different ailments.
Yeah.
And this girl claimed that they had built this box that could do like hundreds of tests immediately with one drop of blood in this affordable box. And it was going to change the world, and every hospital would have one, but you could also afford them in developing countries, or maybe even at your house, you could buy one yourself. And it was just a total lie.
Yeah.
She couldn't pull it off at all. Photog Mike says, it was on that stuff. It can adversely affect your liver. They put me out on it and took me off, then back on. Do you know what he's talking about?
Risdimafir, or whatever that drug was.
Oh, yeah. Darren says, Tesla value is in self-driving data, not cars. Maybe. I feel like a lot of Tesla's value right now is in battery production, potentially energy production. You know, if they really start taking over solar, who knows if they actually will.
Where do you draw the line between Tesla and SpaceX? Are they the same company, or they're separate companies?
SpaceX is privately owned.
Okay. Because that's the stock. If they went public, that's what I'd like to buy. When
That's
I
what
hear
everybody
about
says.
the satellite system and the worldwide, cell phone and data and everything, like that would be game changing.
Absolutely.
You get on a flight and you just have high-speed internet wherever you fly because you can just get it from right above you.
I guess the plane itself would be receiving it. Like your phone, at least right now.
No, but you would have just Wi-Fi that you would log onto Delta.
Yeah.
But they would have,
And they're claiming that you'll get this thing that's just like the size of a pizza that'll connect to their Starlink system, and you'll get gigabit up and download speeds. So 1,000 up, 1,000 down, just as fast as the average wired network. So that'll be unbelievable. And you can get that anywhere. I mean, eventually anywhere in the world.
It'll be a disaster for astrophotographers, but
they have complained about that. They said Tesla's changing things about their satellites to stop them from reflecting sunlight.
Oh, wait, what? You can still take long exposures and not see all the satellites moving through the sky?
Well, so if I remember correctly, I think there might be like 6,000 current satellites orbiting the Earth. And Tesla wants to put SpaceX wants to put 30,000 of their own up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they themselves want to take over the night sky.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of people have complained that, like, you're not going to be able to see stars anymore. You're just going to see things flying. So they're doing all this stuff to cut down on the reflection so that people will still be able to see the stars.
But that's if you take long exposures, just because you're still going to have things moving and blocking your scene, right? You're going to have those little gaps between the stars as they move. Like reflection, you can't make something invisible, can you?
They were doing something that was, they said they were painting them different colors so that they wouldn't reflect the light, like they're painting them black so they won't light up if they were white or something, and they had some sort of sunshade on them so like parts of them won't reflect back down to Earth. I don't know. I was reading, there's an article about this online.
Let's go next to supply chains.
This is from the Macro Voices podcast that I keep recommending. And this guy, you're not going to have a good visual here. You're just going to have to listen. But this guy just talks about what he thinks is going to happen, big picture, around the world with different systems in place, and how labor force is going to change, and how globalization is going to change. And it's just, I think, really fascinating stuff, because once we get out of all of this, and if you're not in America and you don't care about the riots and you don't care about Trump and stuff, you just, I mean, we're a player. We're one of the world powers. We're an influencer. Like, we are at the top level. You have to kind of look at it through that lens. But I think what happens in the next 5 years is very, very fascinating. And this, I just listened to this today while I was working out, and I was like, this is pretty interesting stuff.
And what changes in the global economy in the broadest sense? Where are we going in terms of the way business changes and the way we do business changes as a result of this? And how do supply chains fit into that story?
Yeah, so the bottom line truth is there has been a massive increase in global economic uncertainty as perceived by corporate boardrooms of the multinational companies of the world. They've said, uh-oh, you know what? And by the way, this is a trend that was started well in advance of COVID-19 and will be accelerated because of COVID-19 and be accelerated because of other dynamics. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is we had this trade war start, really 16, 17 into 18, and that changed the dynamics of corporate boardrooms by saying, hey, you know what? This one part that was critical for my manufacturing used to cost $7, and now it's $48 because of tariffs and other things. That doesn't make me feel good. Now my profits are at risk. I'm not sure how this is going to work. Okay, we got to think about the supply chain shift so I don't have this geo-economic pressure of a trade war that throws my profit projections and stability out the window. I got to change that. So supply chain started tiptoeing in a different direction. COVID-19 comes around, and because of the lockdowns, now companies are saying, wait, hold on a second. I think there was I think it was Fiat Chrysler had an issue in one of their plants in Europe that couldn't get a part that was essential for production out of China. And they said, wait, hold on. It's not even now about price. Now it's about security of supply, the availability of it. Wait, we got to really think about our supply chain shifting. Throw on top of that some geopolitics, and the U.S.-China trade war is being a lot more than a trade war. Think of it as a great power rivalry that comes with military escalation and all of the above. And now you start saying, you know what? Now there's a reason I just need to get my supply chains out of Asia because I'm a little bit worried. Maybe it's Chinese military modernization that leads to some effectively a threat to U.S. interests in Asia, and my supply chains run there. Oh, now I really need to move it back. Add on top of that a couple of other dynamics. One is with technology. Because of automation and automated manufacturing, what we've seen is the labor component of manufactured goods has been plunging. And as it plunges, the labor arbitrage value of producing your goods in a country that has cheap labor has fallen. And so, why should I bother putting my factory where there's lots of cheap people, cheap labor, if labor's not a big component of what I'm doing? So, the labor arbitrage value disappeared. Throw on top of that the rising ESG concerns, and you remember and you think then that the longer the supply chain, the greater the carbon footprint. And so now there's an ESG pressure to make supply chains shorten. And lastly, there used to be a tax arbitrage where I added the value would be taxed there. It turns out now with the U.S. corporate tax rates a little more competitive on a global basis, the tax arbitrage value disappeared. And so things like freight actually become more important. And so what you find is that these supply chains are going to shorten. As they shorten, you're going to have manufacturing come closer to the end consumer. And when that happens, I think it creates a lot of pressure towards the emergence of two global ecosystems, a Chinese-led ecosystem and then a U.S. or Western-led ecosystem. And that has massive implications for corporate boardrooms as well as companies and countries all over the world.
The way he just laid that out with all those layers, I was like, man, that does seem to be what's happening. And it makes me think, I don't know how that will all play out. There's probably good and bad that comes out of all of those ideas. But I think what he just said is kind of what the doctrine of Trump would be, right? Trump has made this trade war, and he's now divided the West and the East. And he's lowered tax rates, and automation could be really bad. I mean, it's going to be bad for the worker making minimum wage in a factory if we could just automate a lot of jobs. But the end goal could be that like a ton of jobs do come back to America because we're tired of relying. I mean, we couldn't get masks. All of our masks and much of our medicine is all manufactured in China. Like, there's definitely big problems with this. So I don't know if you're going to say like jobs are going to go up because everyone's bringing their companies back to America. Maybe jobs are going to suffer even more because it's all automated. But I don't know. I just thought that was just an interesting layout of what just 3 years of a trade war on top of now a pandemic that has divided these geopolitical powers is kind of causing. And I wonder if Trump wins the election or Biden wins, if they will continue to go down this. I mean, Trump will continue to go down this road. But maybe we've wedged ourselves in a position where even if Biden takes over the presidency, are we going to be able to pivot back and be like, oh, China, we're going to go back to the way everything was? Or is this a pivotal moment where the globalization of the world, at least from the East and the West, poor countries with cheap labor that have these sweat factories that build all of our stuff. Is that a thing of the past, and we're now moving into something very different, the way that our companies are supplying all the goods?
It doesn't feel like all of a sudden we're going to have iPads being built in the United States.
I mean, they took out, the earbuds? What is that one? iPods? AirPods?
But they just moved it to another country, right?
But maybe that's the first step. Maybe the first step is saying we're going to move production out of China, we're going to go to Vietnam, we're going to go to Bangladesh, we're going to go to India, maybe even Mexico. But then, depending on what happens with the supply chains, maybe we could bring everything back to America.
Maybe.
You didn't seem too excited about that.
China has rejected claims that the new coronavirus started spreading in the country much earlier than thought. It comes after the US-based Harvard Medical School released a report claiming the virus might have spread in China as early as last August, months before it was first identified at a Wuhan seafood market in December. Researchers used satellite imagery of hospital parking lots in Wuhan and data from symptom-related queer things such as cough and diarrhea. China's foreign ministry spokesperson Hua Chunying.
I think it is ridiculous to come to this kind of conclusion based on superficial observations, such as traffic volumes. It is incredibly ridiculous.
The report said researchers couldn't confirm if the increased volume of hospital traffic was directly linked to the new virus, but it did say their evidence supports other recent work showing the emergence happened before it was identified at the seafood market. Harvard scientists said their findings showed a sharp rise in hospital car park occupancy in August 2019 and a unique increase in searches for diarrhea, which was not seen in past flu seasons.
So a lot of that is the same article you had yesterday.
Yeah.
But I thought they pinpointed it down to October. Did they say August?
I don't recall August.
I mean, we missed September. We just totally cut that month out. August is now, that's like halfway the beginning, the middle of the year.
Yeah.
And the thing that article mentioned, I don't know if that was Reuters or who that came from, but it undermines this whole narrative of it came from the seafood market. Like, that's kind of their pivotal thing, is like it started here. If all these hospitals are filling up with the satellite imagery and all the inquiries about different symptoms of coronavirus are before that moment, then we're about to go even deeper into this world of like, where did this virus come from? Where was the beginning of it?
The earlier it goes, the more of a chance I had it back in January.
Is that how that works?
Yeah, makes me feel better. That wraps up all of our videos. So I have a question for you that I was going to ask you when we went off the air, but I guess I can ask you live. I'm trying to set up some homes for Mike Kelly to shoot when he comes down here.
Yeah.
And I think I can go to Dorado tomorrow and potentially see some houses. So, how do you feel about that?
I mean, I'll take a road trip with you.
I don't know that there's an extra seat.
What do you mean?
Well, there's going to be other people going.
Who else going to Dorado?
There's just going to be some people going, and there might be some homes to see.
Wait, are you taking a whole crew from Palmas with you?
I'm not taking anyone. I have been invited to go.
Oh, you're getting in a car with somebody else.
I might be getting in a car with somebody else. There may not be face shields involved, and so just wanted to see what your thoughts were.
I mean, I guess off air, I need to find out who these people are. But I mean, what is the background story? Did they just want to go just to see too, or do they have connections to the home?
They have connections.
Oh, and they're here in the community.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the numbers in Puerto Rico are going up.
I know. I'm not worried about it. I just don't want to have to hear about it when I come back home.
I mean, you never hear about it from me except when we're on the show, I feel like. The only other times we've really debated about it is going with Alaya, traveling somewhere. And in some ways, I thought that was my idea. I was going
It
to
was
wear
your
the
idea.
respirator.
It was your idea.
I was like, let's wear the respirators and let's get RVs so that we can be a little quarantined. But I feel like the flight is the risky area. But then Elia was like, I'm not doing any of that. I feel like he's changed his tune. Now he wants to go. And you've just always been like, yeah, man, I'm down to do whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, if Mike's really going to come here and we're going to get some work done, then at some point
You have to go outside.
you have to let the guard down.
Yep. And you letting your guard down could just be you allowing me to let my guard down.
It could be. I
That
mean,
could be your first baby step.
I'm not going out to the clubs and the bars and the restaurants and the malls. Like, I'm just not going to do that.
I'm not going to any clubs and bars. I went to a mall with a mask on and didn't go into a single store.
No, but I'm saying, like, that's what I would do. I would say there's a concert, there's a live band. Like, I would want to go to those things. I'm not going to do those things. But I don't know. I mean, I'm happy to have Mike here. I'm happy to start seeing some people, but I don't know that I'm ready to go to packed areas with people I don't personally know.
Well, that's what's going to happen tomorrow.
You don't know any of these people?
I don't know the people in
And are these
Dorado.
homes not empty? You're not. It's not like you're going to some like gala.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to a party, but I'm going to like a house where somebody lives.
Yeah.
So.
You're not going to the Peaches in Dorado and.
I mean, I'm going to
playing
try.
football with everybody.
I'm going to try to like go to the restaurant. I'm going to enjoy myself while I'm there.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get back in the gates of Dorado since we moved here. So now we've got an inn. So
Yeah.
like, I would like.
I mean, I'm a little jealous. Like I would go. I feel
You
like.
would?
I mean, maybe.
I mean, I can make a call. I can see if I or we could just take our own car. Maybe that's the answer. It's the safest thing.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to go to Dorado. Like, are you going to eat at the fancy place?
I'm going to try.
I've never even been into that place.
Me either.
I don't even know what it looks like.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Road trip tomorrow? What happened? Like, that means we'll be getting back late, though.
Did you all see what just happened? Patrick himself wants to go to Dorado, so he deems it safe enough for him to go.
Again, it all comes down to the number of people. Like, I was about to have a model come over here in the next week or two to do some photo shoots. I don't feel like that's that risky if I know she hasn't left the island and has been quarantining. And it's one person. I think it's just a numbers thing to me. Like, meeting Mike Kelly, you've debated. Maybe Mike is the worst person because he's come in contact with hundreds or thousands of people. I get it, but it's still one guy. I think that's different than going to a concert or going to the mall with in a busy food court. And it didn't look that busy where you were. Maybe I'm wrong. It's different than being in a huge jet with a ton of people and you're sitting in there for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Those feel different to me. I'm worried about the big flight in a plane, but once I get to the national park, I feel like I'm not going to be coming in contact with that many people.
Yeah.
So that doesn't bother me. And I feel like getting in a car with anyone in this house, hanging out with just a few random people, that doesn't seem that bad. But going to a school, going to a grocery store without all the protective gear, just treating it like it's totally normal, getting on a subway, all of those things still feel like I don't know that I'm really willing to risk that yet.
Yeah.
But being in contact with 6 people that have also been on the island, and that doesn't seem that risky to me either. Somebody's private home that they're also been quarantined in probably doesn't seem that risky. Mike is the most risky part of the puzzle, and I'm still trying to figure that one out.
There's a couple of risks I haven't mentioned yet.
What are you about to do?
The people I'm going with have recently flown into Puerto Rico.
Oh my gosh. We'll have to talk about it off camera.
All right, I think that wraps up this show. Guys, we will see you tomorrow night. Hopefully we will survive if we get back from Dorado. Make sure you subscribe. We will see you then.